Okay, so hello everyone, and I just wanted to introduce to you Eric Kohl, Vice President of the Security Business Unit at Ingram Micro. And Eric, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to get together here because I was at the Ingram One conference, obviously, and saw you speak, and I thought, a lot of the direction that you and vision that you have for security, I think, is really important to the technology providers out there, and certainly just super critical right now in where we are right now in terms of digital transformation and all that people need to be thinking about as they get more digitized, but need to be thinking more about security. So I guess I like to just kick it off. Maybe it's always fun to just look a little bit into your background and just like, how'd you get to security and kind of what led up to that?
Yeah, so I started at Ingram Micro 20 years ago. It's hard to believe 20 years went by so quickly. And when I started, I was a product manager on the 3Com business. And after about 4 years of that, my boss came to me and said, "Hey, look, I want to promote you, but you have to do something else. And there's this hot new security category that you should really consider. It's going to be really something." And so I decided to get off the 3Com train, and I'm sure as heck glad I did. And so my original portfolio consisted of some partnerships that we still have today: WatchGuard, SonicWall. We were shipping Trend Micro around in a box, not to date ourselves here. But that was where I started, and then just progressed in the company. And 10 years ago, we built our security business unit, which really kind of transformed the way we go to market from a security perspective.
Yeah. So just as a metric, do you happen to remember what year it was that the person said to you, "This is going to be a hot area"?
I think it was probably 2003. Yeah,
Wow.
2003.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting. I'm in the security space because a college student, in the mid '90s, said to me, "I think we need to be in the security business," and I was kind of like, "Well, what is that?"
Yeah.
What does that exactly mean? Anyway, that's cool. So now you're running this business unit, and I know you got a team all focused on security. So maybe just give us a feel for what that team looks like and
Sure.
kind of what the primary charge is.
Yeah, sure. So I have responsibility for vendor management, for sales, marketing, market development, and really overall strategy for our cybersecurity and physical security practice here at Ingram. It's a very large organization. We've got over 150 people just on my team. And then we, partner with our shared services organizations, such as our order management teams and partner technical enablement, to really refine, that strategy. My business specifically involves kind of our core networking and security practice, which is, Symantec and McAfee and Fortinet, Proofpoint, just to name a few, along with our emerging vendor effort. So we've done a really good job over the past 10 years of bringing new vendors and new partnerships into Ingram. Obviously, if we're both going to be at the RSA show, there's only about 1,000 vendors out there, but we work with these guys to make sure that we're bringing the ones that are ready and focused and committed to the channel into Ingram Micro. Most recently, companies like OneLogin or Mimecast would be some of the newer ones we've just brought on, and then Cloud Harmonics. So one of the portfolio gaps we had in our business was a relationship with Palo Alto Networks. We acquired a company called Cloud Harmonics last December, a little over a year ago. And so they have a relationship with Palo Alto Networks and with some other emerging vendors, and have done a great job in that space. And then lastly, it's around our physical security practice, where we're really focused on surveillance technologies. But that might sound like a lot. It's a multi-billion-dollar business, but the overall strategy is the same, which is how do we help our ecosystem of resellers, MSPs, MSSPs to be stronger, more profitable, and trusted security advisors.
Yeah, so I'm of course I'm working on the channel side with a lot of the resellers and trying to help them build that out, and having great technology available, of course, is a key piece of it. So when obviously you've got a wide variety of technologies there to kind of draw from. So when you look out at the world and think about where companies are headed digitally and what's happening in the cyber crime world and what these companies need to be equipped for, what do you see as kind of the big opportunities out there for technology companies if they can kind of get ready for that and some of the problems that are out there that need to be addressed, I guess, for
Yeah.
the coming year.
Yeah. I mean, well, we know, some of the fundamental challenges just being insecurity, which is, a lack of resources and talented resources and engineers. And, we always say, hey, the bad guys only have to be right once, but we've got to work to protect our clients every single time. So that shortage of security talent is playing a role. It's also driving up demand for, managed security services. And I think kind of the other area is, this cloud and hybrid cloud. And a lot of partners haven't really made that transition and are struggling with that transition. So, again, I think there's convergence and confusion in managed security services, and then cloud and these, as a service, or the way technology is being consumed, is really changing faster than anything. And so, I think if you look at the way that technology is being consumed and ultimately paid for and deployed, that's where we're seeing the biggest kind of tectonic shift right now, if you will.
Yeah, when I look at it at the traditional VAR out there, if you will, it's moved into managed services, trying to get a handle on security. There's, in my opinion, there's a big gap there, right, between what's really needed by those companies out there and what the companies necessarily have the capabilities to provide. So I know your team's doing a lot of work to help ramp up some of these technology providers. Can you maybe just talk a little bit about that? Like, what, how does your team stay in front of that, and what does your team do to help enable those companies so they're not just providing the product, but they actually are trying to be part of the solution?
Sure. I always refer back to this sales cycle approach that we've, built out over the last couple of years. And, kind of as you progress through the sales cycle from, training to assessments and professional services to really helping our partners to understand what that solution need is so that they can solve that customer challenge. The next area is, hey, how do you want to pay for that and deploy it? And that's where we're seeing this big shift, right? So whether it's an on-premise and we need the right financial or channel financing vehicle to take that down, or whether it's cloud. I always say I'm a professional partner conference attendee. I go to a lot of vendor conferences, and these vendors do a great job of positioning their technology and saying, well, hey, I've got a public cloud or a bring your own license. I've got a virtual edition, or, I've got a great program to attach through Ingram Micro's marketplace and attach to Office 365. And that's great from a technology perspective, but our manufacturer partners, what they don't do is to help our channel partners build a cloud practice. And that's where Ingram Micro sits in a really unique role. From the infrastructure as a service or public cloud, thinking, Azure or AWS, we have dedicated teams that help our channel partners literally build a cloud practice so that they can solve those challenges in a hybrid cloud world. As it relates to the other way that these technologies are being consumed, it's everything as a service, even if it's hardware. And so, we've done a pretty good job of building, whether it's monthly recurring revenue models, just in the past few months, we've.
Uh-oh, you froze up. Are you still with me?
Things are taking off like crazy, as the consumption models are changing.
So you froze up there a second. Are you still? Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right, good. We'll just press on. I think we lost like a minute, but I think only about it. Well, no, less than that. It's probably 15 seconds. It was just a quick gap in there.
Yeah, it's a little frozen right now.
Can you see? Am I moving?
Yep, now you are. Yep.
Okay, that's odd. All right. Usually I don't have any connection problems here. Anyway, we're on fast technology, I think.
Right.
All right. So let me, so maybe just to clarify, you were talking a little bit about, maybe this is where the gap was. You were talking a little bit about how your group is structured so that you can help some of the resellers actually build practice areas.
Right.
It's interesting if you could maybe just elaborate a little bit on that in terms of like how do you actually do that? Like, do these guys go on site? Do you have like a, is it online? How does that look?
Yeah, no, Michael Giambanco, as an example, leads our public cloud practice, and he's actually built out kind of a 9-step program that our technology partners, our MSPs, et cetera, need to be thinking about. What is your engineering resources? And there's 9 steps of the public cloud sales cycle, if you will. because I think one of the big challenges is, I mentioned I go to all these partner conferences, they talk about the technology, you go out and grab a coffee in the hallway and you ask a reseller or MSP what that means to them. And they'll say, it means my end user can buy direct. And so we've built this 9 kind of step program to say, look, this is how you change that conversation. We can help the partner be more profitable. We can actually help their client be more profitable. And we've added a bunch of tools to go out and assess the current environments, and training curriculum, with both on-site, face-to-face consultations to help them build out that practice. And there's, number of success stories that come out of that.
Yeah, so that's interesting, because when I bring up security, a lot of times I get the comment that, well, my clients won't spend any more than they're already spending. And I think they're just thinking about the product. Like if I add some kind of managed security on top of an existing managed service per seat contract, it's going to add cost to it. Obviously, it's going to make that contract worth more money. And what they're saying is, well, my client won't pay any more money. But I think what they're missing out on is, well, we're probably not selling the benefit, then we're probably just offering another widget to them, right?
Right. Yeah. And the risk is immense. So, we have to help them understand what the risks are, because this is not a time to be worried about, not spending enough on security. I mean, every day there's a new example, a bank getting hacked, or, what was the one the other day where a bank was shut down for a day and a half after losing $15 million. Right. Wow. And it's not just hitting the big banks. They're going after the small guys too. So,
yeah. So one more question I had, just kind of about the product. So you're partnering with all these different companies, and I know you probably can't name, vendor names necessarily, but when you look out at the future and think, what are the strategic technology areas that are coming about? I know you've started to work with some of these up and coming smaller companies, especially through this acquisition. So, just looking at it, kind of where the threats are headed and what needs to be provided in the future, what's strategic?
Well, I'm not afraid to name some of our best partners in the space, but I think we're definitely seeing a shift, right? So much of our historical budget and IT spend has been built around the vendors focused on protect. If you think around the NIST framework of identify, detect, protect, respond. So much of that is in the protection category, and it's relevant, right? So from Palo Alto Networks to Cisco to Fortinet to SonicWall, to Symantec and McAfee, these core protection technologies. And where we're really trying to help our partners is, hey, look, we can strengthen those technologies with other offerings, right? I mean, the number one threat vector right now is email. We're having great success with companies like Proofpoint, but to wrap other technologies and services around that are going to make those core technologies stronger, right? So as an example, like, vulnerability management and assessment, Tenable has been a great partner. That's where you want to really, start leveraging some of the professional services capabilities to assess, hey, we have the best protection strategy out there. Or security awareness training. If you're not selling security awareness training to your partner, the risk is not being mitigated. Those technologies like a Cofense ultimately make those core technologies stronger. And at the end of the sales cycle, I mentioned managed security services, and there's the big question around, to SOC or not to SOC, right? Are you going to build a SOC? Are you going to buy a SOC? Or do you want to partner? Well, we're firmly in that partner area. We've just recently announced relationships with Arctic Wolf Networks and Binary Defense. And these companies offer, 24/7, around the clock, security operations center services for the thousands of solution providers we're selling to that are looking for who's the right partner to partner with in that space.
Right. And, I'm a big fan of that whole detection response strategy. I think, what you just said is so true. It's such a big investment, but there are some really good offerings coming out that can be white labeled, or whatever, to help companies get into that business, but that's critical. So let's just take a look back over well, not the last 20 years, but as you've been working on the practice builder and bringing in different technology and stuff like that. So it's a journey, right? Of trying to build and trying to improve both the reseller's value proposition, but also provide a relevant solution out there. And of course, security is key to that. So maybe just talk a little bit about what your organization has learned on your journey as you've been building the security practice, trying to build a qualified team? What have been the kind of the big lessons learned in trying to put all that together?
Right. I remember a few years ago, I was looking at, the depth and breadth of the practice, and we've got 30 or 35 or more manufacturers in our overarching security practice, and I mentioned a number of them. And we're selling security technologies to about 12,000 resellers in the U.S. And I think that's a testament to, not just the technologies that we sell, but it's around the sales organization and the tenured relationships and just Ingram Micro being Ingram Micro over the past 30 years. But what I looked at was like, holy cow, how do you build a strategy, to service 12,000 solution providers in this space when they have varying degrees of competencies and capabilities? And you can look at the top tier of the market and, true MSSPs, and, they can't reach the entire market. So really it's come down to, how do we help those folks that want to focus on security have the tools, resources, capabilities, services available so that to their client, they look like the top MSSP in the country. The number one question I always get, Dave, is, hey, how can you help me strengthen my security practice or build a security practice? And so the investments we're making this year are really designed around, hey, we're going to help you answer that question. So while we've worked with you and your team as a great consultancy partner for us over the years, we've been working recently with Larry Walsh in the 2112 group as an example. And he's designed the 2112 group security scope. And so what that means is when I have a partner ask me how to strengthen my practice, the first thing I'm going to say is go spend an hour taking our security scope. And it's going to help you measure your security capabilities and practice versus other companies in the industry. And you'll get a report back that might say, look, you're not doing much, if anything, in the response category. And from there, we can have a much more educated answer to that. And that answer will be our security practice builder program that we're building out, shaped around the NIST framework. So in that example, I might be able to say, hey, look, from a response perspective, here's what you need to be thinking about. The managed security services offerings, if you want to partner, here are some of those things that we have. We've got a technology consultant that can come out to your office and sit down and have a good dialogue with you about what investments you need to make. And here's the vendors and the solutions and services that we can use to help you get up to speed, ultimately to be a better security advisor to your client.
Yeah, so that's a great story, right? If you look out over the reseller community, I know one of the things I'm facing all the time as I'm talking to these companies who have been providing MSP services, maybe as far back as 2003.
Yep.
The business, I can see that I can see my thing froze up again. The business has kind of flattened in many of these companies, and I think security provides a really good answer. When you look out at what these MSP companies need to provide, does it seem to you that they all need to be involved in security, or does it feel like this is kind of a niche area that some people should invest in?
I think everybody needs to be looking at the security industry. I always like to say that, you don't turn on CNN and read about the next server farm that was virtualized. You turn on CNN and you read about the security challenges and who got breached. And, just yesterday, Valentine's Day, oh, look at this dating app just got breached. And so it's going to be headline news. And there's never, ever been, a better time to have a security discussion with your client, because candidly, if you're not, someone else will. And the same goes, think about what you see on the news every day. There's a new surveillance video of somebody getting caught or doing something stupid. And, so I also think that those folks that are in traditional IT, cybersecurity, they need to be thinking about physical security in their practice too, whether it be surveillance, because again, if you're not in that, somebody else is, and we can absolutely help our partners in that space.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that the physical security is now critical to data security, people breaking into stuff from the physical side and people breaking into the digital side through physical. It all comes together in one thing, right?
Exactly.
So last question, because I know you need to get going, is if you're looking out at how to stay on top of all this thing, as we talk to resellers, what things do you think they should be doing? What should they be reading, studying, you know, how much focus should they be putting on? How do they stay ahead of this and not get caught up in the commoditization trap?
Right. Well, there's so much information out there. Although, I do get this Insider Edge newsletter every month. It's pretty good. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Yeah, I think I have a copy of it right here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. See, I get one of those in sunny or rainy Southern California every month. Thank you for that. But,
Yeah.
I also, there's some great, content sites that I follow that hit my inbox every day. I mean, my favorite is MSSP Alert. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a great site. I follow Sophos has one that's pretty entertaining called Naked Security. That's a newsletter that you can go and sign up for. And it's very interesting. And thought leaders, Krebs on security, be another one. But, I love history. And, at that one event I presented on a famous bank robber, Willie Sutton, who was robbing banks 100 years ago. And, to correlate that, what was happening today, it really relates to today's challenges. So there's just so many different ways you can go. But one of the things that we're doing here in 2019 is trying to consolidate and aggregate and syndicate so much of this great content. So that'll be a deliverable that I'll share with you as part of our practice builder on, hey, these are the folks that our partners need to be following every month, and you'll certainly be on that list, Dave.
Excellent. All right, very good. Well, I will come to a conclusion here. I appreciate your time, taking out time to do this here. I know it'll be helpful to the folks that I'm working with, and I look forward to seeing you at one of the future conferences. So,
sounds good. Thanks for the partnership, Dave. Appreciate it.
All right, bye.